The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Kyle, I haven't been this confused since my ex-girlfriend told me that she was into women. Anyways, let's do this. You're listening to Locked On Canucks.
Hey, man, it happens.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer since 2013, currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode, we got to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks, because guess what? It is your Canucks every damn day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and guess what? If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe or follow us on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Before we get into things, I'm going to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. Speaking of getting started, the playoffs are getting started pretty damn soon. Might be 1 week today until the Canucks play a playoff game, even though a couple of teams have now wrapped up their regular seasons. But as we get closer to the playoffs, we want to talk about the Canucks lineup, okay? Because, you know, they've been juggling things around. They might have set their lineup based on Saturday Edmonton as to what they want to have in the playoffs. But is this the lineup they should have? We're going to dive into it. And specifically, we're going to talk about that third line, okay? Should Garland and Joshua be reunited with Teddy Blueger, as we used to call him, where they had, you know, an abundance of chemistry? Or, you know, should the Canucks be doing what they're doing right now? So we're going to get into all that and more. Before we dive into it, let me introduce my co-host. He is Teddy Blueger's biggest fan. Shout out to Latvia, Kyle Ballin. How's it going, brother?
Straight up, man. I think it's because back in the day, I never had a teddy bear, man. I didn't have that core child memory, you know? Like throwing the baseball with your dad. Never had that too. Where am I going with this? Kyle Ballin, Trevor Beggs, Locked On Canucks, talking about your Canucks and your Canucks only, and maybe a bunch of other things. Trevor, off the top, you mentioned that, again, one time in your life, your ex-girlfriend told you that she could no longer be yours because she wanted a Sarah, you know? Or an Amanda, you know? For real. Same thing happened to me. And look what it got us. It got us this. Locked On Canucks, man. Everything happens for a reason, okay? I am definitely grateful that that happened to me. Because if it didn't happen to me, maybe you and I wouldn't be this close. One love to the community, straight up, okay? Okay, Locked On Canucks. Let's talk about the Canucks, okay? Teddy Blueger, still not on the third line, still not with Joshua and Garland, and, you know, part of me gets it. And then the other part of me is that, like, pessimistic, confused Canucks fan. You know, somebody on Twitter said that I may be the most half glass full Canucks fan on Canucks social media, okay? It is what it is. And maybe, again, it has to do with the teddy bear thing, blah, blah, blah. But I think it has the most to do with that cerebralness, right? That attack mentality, that fluidness that those three had. Everyone was going when those three were together. Now, you know, we've seen them with Miller and Lindholm, Joshua and Garland, that is, and they've played good, but I don't think they've played at that level. You know what I'm saying? And that line was so good for maybe 40 days, maybe 20 plus games, that you best believe that I believe that they deserved more than one game to get their act together, okay? Joshua comes back. They play together against Dallas. And after that, it's nothing. It's invisible, and it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, and they played together in that Dallas game, but even in that game, the one goal scored in that game was when I believe Joshua and Garland were on the ice with Miller. Garland setting up Miller, Joshua screening in front, and Miller getting the goal. Look, I've said it before, and you know, I think we got differing opinions on this. So let's play the drop, okay? Beggsy versus Bowen. Let's go. All right, Colin. I know you got a stiff one for the best third line in hockey, Teddy Blueger, Garland, and Joshua. You think these guys should be playing together. Don't separate them. Let them do their thing come playoff time. And I'm more of the mind that it doesn't necessarily matter who Joshua and Garland play with. That line is going to have success. So right now they're lined up with Elias Lindholm. They had one game where, they had, kind of 50-50 possession stats playing against top six of Edmonton's. Again, missing McDavid. Hard to take away much from one game, but I do like the idea of having those guys on a third line with Elias Lindholm. I think Lindholm's looked better of late. And, with Garland and Joshua, and specifically Connor Garland, I think those guys can actually get Lindholm going offensively. But even when so far, look at this. So I'm looking at the top Canucks lines this season in terms of expected goals, and they almost all have Garland on them. Okay. And here's the interesting thing too, in fact, is that when you look at the lines based on expected goals, Blueger, Joshua, Garland are the third best Garland and Joshua line. So Joshua, Suter, and Garland have an expected goals percentage of 69%. That's nice. Joshua, Miller, and Garland have an expected goals percentage of 66%. And Joshua, Blueger, and Garland have an expected goals percentage of 58%. Now, here's the thing with Joshua, Blueger, and Garland that I think worked. I think Teddy Blueger is kind of an underrated playmaker. You can see it this season, the fact that, he doesn't score a ton of goals, but, I think he made a lot of great plays when he was on a line with those two players. And I think his playmaking was probably exacerbated by the fact that, Garland is just so slick with the puck. I think he can make his line mates look better. He elevates his line mates. But, going back to earlier in the season, I think with Pius Suter on that line was successful as well. They just didn't put the puck in the net, right? They were not on the ice in, 75 even strength minutes. They were not on the ice for a goal a game. So that means something. They were dominating possession when they were out there. They were out-chancing the opposition. But I think maybe that was just early in the Garland Joshua chemistry days, and things just weren't really rolling for them offensively. But I thought that line had some success as well. And you look at Joshua, Miller, and Garland, and they posted sparkling underlying numbers. I think the eye test matches that most of the time when those three were on the ice, the puck was in the offensive zone, and they outscored the opposition 4-2 when they're on the ice. So my point is, to me, it doesn't matter who's on that line. I'm about what's best for this team in terms of balance. And I do think in terms of balance, you got to have Joshua and Garland on a third line, and I like them with Elias Lindholm.
Here's my thing, though, okay? Can we move forward this season with doing two things in regards to our best lines so far this season offensively, and that's not use them, okay? So we're not going to use the Blueger line, and we're not going to use the Lotto line at all. When this team 5-on-5 offensively, it hasn't been fluid, consistently, especially over the last 25 games. And again, what we're going to do is not lean into the trio that have the most chemistry. And I know the underlying data might say that, Miller, Joshua, and Garland were sparkling. But in reality, the only thing that was really sparkling when it comes to Joshua and Garland being on a line was that Blueger addition, okay? For real. Because underlining stats aside, those guys were executing. And they had so many more games outside of the one against Chicago, but when Dakota got hurt. But just look at that. Look at that, okay? They ripped it up in that game against Chicago. And it was another one of those moments where it's holy, it's been 25 games. It's been 20 games. And these guys are continuing to score goals 5-on-5. Is this ever going to stop? No, it's not going to stop because that chemistry was unreal. There's a reason why we were calling this line the best third line in hockey. We were saying the best third line in hockey. And at points we were saying that this was the line that was the best line on our team. And here we are when our team is struggling to consistently put up offense, being you know what? Let's play some, let's get Elias Lindholm going. Lindholm, how about you get yourself going? You know what I'm saying? And there's a reality there, right? There's a possibility here. I don't think I'd be saying this if I didn't think there was a way to get what Blueger is doing on the fourth line with Podkolzin and Lafferty. There's a way for that to happen with Pius Suter, in my opinion. There is. That's just the truth. Again, I'm confused and I'm a little scared that Canucks are willing to not do two things, and that's not use two of their most effective offensive lines in points, whether it be a short point or a long point, going into the playoffs. It's weird.
Yeah, well, it's funny. You made the comment that, Lindholm, get yourself going. But Kyle, we've said it on this show before. You can't just put Mikheyev and Lafferty on Lindholm's line and expect that line to have success and
Okay, then put
expect to
Pedersen
go on
on
a
his
long
line.
playoff run.
Then, then,
What's that?
then put Pedersen with him, man. Get going.
Yeah, I think if you are going to reunite Blueger, Joshua, and Garland, you have to put Lindholm on Pedersen's line. Like that's the only
Mhm.
other option.
Of
Like
course.
there's none of this Lindholm on the fourth line. I don't think Lindholm and Miller, you're doing the best job of utilizing your lineup by having them on the same line. If you are gonna go team Kyle Bowen, Bhawan, and put them on the same
Mhm.
line, again, you got to have Miller, Pedersen with Lindholm. And I think we'll talk about maybe what we want to see from the Canucks lineup heading into the postseason and over the last two regular season games here.
Mhm.
But yeah, for my money, I want to see more out of Lindholm, Joshua, and Garland over the last two games of the season. And then, hey, maybe my mind will change come playoff time because, Kyle, you and I, we're emotional Canuck fans at the end of the day. But
And we get it
uh,
wrong. And we get it wrong. We get it wrong a lot. Like if I'm wrong, that's a good thing, in my opinion. Because I don't feel as if like Talkett is going to be super, super patient with just I don't know, like defensive metrics displaying superb things. Like, like I don't know if Talkett is ultimately going to keep that line together if they're not scoring goals,
yeah,
Because the
yeah,
Blueger combination, the Blueger addition to that line was different. Just look at the film. Those guys were assassin like. They were going after the offense. And yeah, all that being said, prove me wrong. Okay. Lindholm scored 2 goals, get 1 assist. Joshua pick up 3 assists. You know what I'm saying? Prove me wrong. Because I don't give a it's always just go Canucks go. Anyways, Beggsy, we'll get to more on that game tonight in like what, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, who knows? Who knows how long it takes you to do this ad read, but who we shouting out?
All right, let us know in the comments again. Who do you think should play with Joshua and Garland? It's an interesting one to answer. I'm voting. I'm voting Elias Lindholm right now, though. Let's see more of that. But let us know who you agree with in that little segment called Beggsy versus Bowen. Again, we'll talk
Mhm.
about the next one of the second last regular season game coming up later tonight, and also what we want to see in terms of the Canucks lines heading into the playoffs. Before we do any of that, let's shout out our friends over at FanDuel. All right, it's playoff time, baby. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. And guess what? Baseball is also in full swing. And FanDuel is
Whoa.
your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And also,
Whoa.
I do like to shout this out. FanDuel trying to help out Canucks fans. I checked again. The Canucks still have the 10th best cup odds on FanDuel, plus 1,400 if you think the Canucks are going to win the Stanley Cup. So a $10 bet would pay you 140 buckaroonies. Okay, baby. Again, if you think the Canucks
Mhm.
are, have better odds than the 10th best odds in the NHL, go place a bet on FanDuel. Okay. What are you waiting for? Visit fanduel.com/locked on and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
People, we're doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen, and that right there is Trevor Beggs. We're friends. We're best friends, kind of. We're brothers, definitely. And it's because we've been through a lot together, man. We've cheered for this team together. We've lost the former loves of our lives, if I can say that without getting in trouble, to the other side. But we made it. Speaking of which, before we talk more about the Canucks of today and the playoff scenarios and whatnot, I want to know what you did. Okay, right after you got the news that you were going to lose your girl to another girl, it happens, right? It's 20. It's new day and age. It's a new era of life, right? It happens. I want to know how you recovered from that. Okay, for real, because men don't talk about that much. A lot of men watching this. How did you go through adversity like that? Okay, because
Hmm.
it was an emotional time.
Yeah, so for me at the time, I had just turned 19. So honestly, partying was kind of my tonic. I
Hey,
don't know if that's
had the same answer.
the most like heartfelt emotional answer, but Yeah, like when me and my ex officially split, it was a month after I turned 19. So, in hindsight, timing wise, it was pretty great, considering she wasn't the one anyways. So, but yeah, of course, there was for a time there it was emotional, it was sad, I was pissed off. But you go and party and you meet some new girls, and you rebound pretty quick.
Hey, man, similar to how I deal with sports losses, I'll never forget that time where the Packers lost to Arizona in, was it the NFC Championship game or the NFC divisional game back in like 2016, 2015 after those Hail Marys? And yeah, we lost and I went to the Roxy, man. I went to the Roxy and one of my friends puked on the table. So do
Ooh.
the math, all right? Anyways, Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs. Hopefully we're not dealing with Canucks losses because the Canucks losses are about to really hurt. They really are. Hopefully we're not dealing with it via alcohol and whatnot. But man, oh man, the playoffs are right here. Look at the weather, Trevor. Smell the cherry blossoms. Holy beep, we're here. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited to feel like a child again. Is that a weird thing to say? But you get what I'm saying?
No, it's I'm looking out in my office parking lot right now, and I can see a few Canuck car flags out. I mean, this is the time of year, man. The time of year when the sun is shining, playoff hockey's on the horizon, and yeah, you know what? Again, the Canucks are going to be playing playoff games in a week from now. And Kyle, we talked a lot about the third line in the last segment. Now, I do want to talk about the overall lineup, and one thing I mentioned was, you brought it up. I think that Pettersson, Miller, Besser line. And I've, if everydayers know, I've been kind of skeptical because, again, they were hot for about a week and then they didn't play that great and Talker broke them up pretty quick. So, but here's one thing that kind of goes into the favor of playing the lotto line. And I think it's a break glass in case of emergency. I don't think it's what you roll with in game one, but I found this stat interesting. So, among lines, NHL lines who have played at least 100 minutes at even strength, there are over 200 of them. Pettersson, Miller, and Besser have the sixth best goals per 60 minutes. They've scored in 60 minutes. They've averaged 5.5 goals. So that's like almost a goal every 10 minutes that they're on the ice together. And again, they've only played about 120 minutes together, and they have 11 goals. Again, so they
Wow.
are one of the most efficient lines in the league this season in terms of scoring at even strength. And we saw it. I mean, they absolutely just dominated for about a week there in January. So I don't know how many losses would it take for the Canucks in the playoffs, if any at all, for you to go back to Pettersson, Miller, and Besser?
Okay, Trevor, before I answer that question, can you just say that stat again about how many goals per 60 they have? I know they rank 6, but you kind of cut out there, and I just want to know that stat before I give
Yeah.
you a spiel on this, okay?
Yeah. So out of 220 lines at even strength who have played at least 100 even strength minutes, Pettersson, Miller, and Besser have scored 5.53 goals per 60 minutes at even strength. That's the sixth
Thank
best
you.
total in the league. And
Thank you.
it's,
Okay.
again, almost a goal every 10 minutes at even strength.
Okay. Okay. Damn. How many losses would it take? I guess this is the best way to put it. I don't want to talk about too many losses, especially in the playoffs. I really don't. But let's say the Canucks offense looks like this, straight up. They look like they did against Arizona for whatever, like 40 minutes, and then the Oilers. And let's say they still kind of slow things down and they're not really clicking against Calgary and Winnipeg, and then they lose game one. I could see them doing it in game two. No, straight up. Like, we're going to go into the playoffs because, again, the next two games are kind of confusing. We're facing the Flames, pretty trash team. I know they work hard, blah, blah, blah. You don't know what the lineup's going to look like against Winnipeg. Then you got to look back at the regular season and be like, yo, in our last 30 games, we were in the middle of the pack offensively. We just were. So, you know what I'm saying? So, Talkett, who loves the blender, who just loves the blender, I could definitely see him go back to the lotto line after a game one loss. It's, yeah, is how I guess for a first place team, again, the playoffs are around the corner. Like, what's your worry level with, again, the uncertainty about the consistency when it comes to not just your bottom six? We're talking about the revolving door that's been this way for almost the whole season with your top six.
Yeah, my concern is lukewarm. I'm kind of going back to the the blame-o-meter episode where we were talking about, who's to blame for the Canucks struggles. And I think we both kind of landed on Pettersson, right? I think we're kind of lukewarm on talking to Smith, but yeah, Pettersson, man, at even strength right now. Obviously, it's been tough. We've talked about it a lot on this show, but maybe it's just kind of half-baked optimism. But I do believe in the law of averages, and I look at Pettersson, despite the fact that he's struggled hard. I think he's played better the last couple weeks. That's grasping at straws a bit, but he's still top 20 in NHL scoring, right?
Trevor, man. Okay, but like we like, oh, he's still number 8th in league scoring. Oh, he's still number 15th in league scoring. He's still number 20th in league. It's just trickling down, bro. The guy's got I know we're grasping for straws when we're giving him the benefit of the doubt because we're big Pettersson fans. Like we want to put it out there that this guy's gonna get it done, but at the end of the day, the catalyst, right? They always talk about the catalyst and the instrument, and he's just not firing. And when he's firing, he just makes everything look better. Everyone calms down. Everyone's about a lot. They're allowed to be more free, more intuitive, and he's such a big piece, the ultimate X factor for the Vancouver Canucks going into the playoffs. Hey, speaking of X factor, okay, do you think? Because some people are commenting this, and I don't know. You're smarter than me, okay? You've watched way more hockey than me over the last 2 years, so maybe this is like a new thing that coaches are doing, right? But I'm looking at comments like this, okay? And this comes from Anderson, okay? D. Anderson, number 49. He says that they do not want anyone getting footage of that Blueger line / remembering how good they were, okay? And I've seen some people talk about this even when Archie Baines got called up and he got that immediate jump to the top line with Miller. Do you think it's possible for a head coach like Rick Tocchet to be like, you know what, we're up in the standings. Let's play some psychology and / mind games with the rest of the league, and let's confuse not just our fans, but again the whole league right before we enter the playoffs. Like that's not a possibility, right? Because sports is such a momentum thing. Why risk it like that? Why waste games not building chemistry just to play a mind game?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's possible / impossible?
I don't think it's impossible, but I'm trying to think of like a precedent for that. I can't think of another team that completely overhauled their lines going into like game 1 in the playoffs. But I mean, that would be great for our show. That'd be a flex move for sure. But look, I think going into the playoffs, what we've kind of seen or what we saw in Edmonton on Saturday night, I think they want to roll into the postseason with something similar. And even when I look at the Canucks lineup, I'm kind of happy for the Canucks to roll into the postseason like that. Even in terms of small tweaks, like I wouldn't mind, giving Podkolzin a chance on the Miller-Besser line and put Suter on the 4th line, something like that. But aside from that, what they have right now with Höglander, Pettersson, Mikheyev, Suter, Miller-Besser, Lindholm, Joshua, Garland, and then Blueger, Lafferty, Podkolzin, like I'm fine with that. I don't really think PDG and Allman have deserved to be in the lineup for the playoffs. I'd almost rather see like Noah Juleson dress as a 7th defenseman if you're considering putting one of those guys in. But if they are gonna if they are gonna blow it up and kind of shock the whole league, it would be interesting to see something like Pettersson, Miller-Besser, Blueger, Joshua, Garland, and then you got to go. What is that? Like Lindholm,
Mikheyev, Höglander, Mikheyev, Höglander,
and then I guess your bottom line is Podkolzin, Lafferty, and Suter. Like that would be interesting to see come playoff time. The Canucks are going to kind of blow it up and make it a bit different.
I'm not going to jump ahead of the gun and say, oh, yeah, that like offensively speaking, like there's reason to believe that Blueger, Garland, Joshua line is actually more of a second line than a third line, like a really good. That sounds crazy to say, but just look at the film, dude. Look at the film. You know what? I've celebrated 420 almost every day. My memory's still working, okay? Especially with the things I love. I'm having flashbacks of how good that line was. I'm not talking about just, they were really good against the other team's best line. They really limited their chances. But no, I'm talking they were going after it. They were trying to score goals. They were making plays. And at the tail end of their little tenure, right? Their little long tenure before Dakota Joshua got hurt in that Blackhawks game. I know an AHL team. I'm just saying, though, in that game, they displayed once again that offensively speaking, they were operating with a level of chemistry that allowed them to make beautiful play after beautiful play after beautiful play. They were doing it. And that's why I'm so desperately in need to just see a stretch of games where that happens. And last time I looked, we don't got a stretch of games left anymore, man. The playoffs, man. Again, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I don't care. Go Canucks, go. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. Again, let us know in the comments. What do you think the Canucks should roll with for game one of the playoffs? Or what do you want to see the Canucks do to end the regular season, whether it's building chemistry or doing a little bit more experimentation? Again, whether it's here in the live stream or after the fact on Twitter, YouTube, on Spotify, where you can comment, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Let's wrap up the show on the other side. Maybe get to some comments here from the live YouTube stream and talk a little bit about the Canucks Flames contest tonight, Kyle. Maybe let's talk about specifically what we want to see from that contest. Before we wrap up the show, though, we got to shout out our friends over at Sleeper. All right, Canucks fans, there's 2 games left in the regular season. Then guess what? It's playoffs. Playoffs! Where, the Canucks could win big. And guess what? You could also win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our #1 choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you could win 100 times your cash, in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Nils Höglander, Elias Pettersson, or Connor Garland will record more or less in their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Canucks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms and use for details and locational availability.
People, we back doing this, talking about your Vancouver Canucks at the home of the West Coast bias, man. The Don't Do's Art Lab doing the most to make sure that you and Trevor and I can get this out to the world, man. And Trevor and I, again, been through a lot. We're about to go through even more, right? We're getting older. I'm balding. You have children, right? Same stuff. It's just life's more stressful, man. It's just crazy, man. And we're going to go through a lot together. And again, we went through a lot in the past. You lost the love of your life to a girl. I did. I asked you how you dealt with it. You didn't ask me how I dealt with it, maybe because we're doing a Canucks show or you're just not a good friend. You never asked me how I'm doing. But I dealt with it like this, man. I cried in the shower. Not going to lie. I cried in the shower, man. It was an embarrassing moment, okay? Come on. It was. Back in the day, different era of life, okay? If it happened in 2024, maybe it wouldn't be so shocking, but I cried in the shower, okay? Then I chilled with the bros. Then I celebrated 420, and then I did what you did, and I partied. And what happened is the truth. And the truth was that partying, it was fun and stuff like that, but it didn't heal me, What actually healed me was laughing again, Just jokes, not taking life so seriously. Speaking of which, Locked On Canucks, Kyle Bowen, Trevor Beggs, going into the playoffs, and going into the playoffs a little confused about the lineup, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, we're nerding out right now, just going through the motions, right? A little confused about the lines, but one of the least confusing things is our faith in Thatcher Demko, and it leads me to this question, which I kind of already know the answer to. How much faith do you have in a guy that's maybe going to get one start, maybe both in the remaining games prior to like a 5 to 7 day break in between games? Because it sounds like round 1 is going to start for us on Tuesday, April the 23rd.
Yeah, I want to see Demko get both games. I think it's a good tune-up for him. I mean, the guy's used to playing a lot of games. If he's truly healthy and ready to go, I don't really see the point in sitting him for the Winnipeg game. And he is already confirmed he's going to start tonight against the Flames. Just give him, as long as he's healthy, ready to go, give him the last 2 games of the season to see what he can do, get tuned up for the playoffs. And again, there's precedent from last season. This guy came back from a 4-month layoff and was fantastic. So hopefully it's the same again. And it's interesting because the Canucks have really tightened up defensively since he left the lineup. And yeah, I'm curious to see what this team looks like with Demko back in net and this one of the best defenses in the league. Again, these last 2 games don't mean a lot. The Canucks need 2 points to officially clinch the division. It could be clinched by Edmonton also dropping a game as well. But yeah, I think the 2 things I want to see both against the Flames tonight and to wrap up the season would be more of that Lindholm, Joshua, Garland line. I want to see 2 Demko starts and Pettersson show something, man. Do something.
Oh man, show something to the people. Yes, the people. Yeah, man, just it's one of those scenarios. Like, I know there's not a lot to play for in a lot of the eyes of many, right? The playoff schedule pretty much released. Everyone's kind of looking forward to next week, but in reality, there still is. You know, if Dallas loses and the Canucks win their next two games, then they move up to the one seed. Edmonton could still win the division if we lose these two games, like, and they win their, like, there's still a lot there, man. So we got to handle business, and handling business today would, for me, be showcasing the fans and the organization a display of another level of offensive pedigree. Okay, offensive pedigree. It's got to be displayed, and maybe it's easier for them to do that because Demko's in net. And I never really put two and two together, right? Demko out of the net. This team has to kind of play differently to protect their goalie, right? And now since Demko is back, maybe they can be more themselves. And I know after the All-Star break, Demko was there and the Canucks were still kind of stale offensively, but keep in mind, right? They played really good defensive hockey prior to him getting hurt, did their thing, and then they exploded against Winnipeg. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, they were a bit more looser. They were playing more free. Maybe they were not leaning on their structure so much because they knew Demko had their back because he was on a heater, and it allowed their guys to explode. Straight up. And who doesn't like exploding, man? Speaking of exploding, the comments are exploding. Let's get to them. Do you have something to say before we get to the comments?
No, you got me even more amped up for Canucks hockey with Demko back in there. Let's go.
There you go. Okay, let's get to the comments. Look at this one. Mike LaValle, great name, okay? I'll be in section 103, row 4. I expect a loss. They haven't won when I'm there since 2007. Like, hopefully you've only been to like 2 games since 2007, okay? For real. As Canucks need to win. And if my record was like 18-1 in the last 15 years of going to games, you know what I would do? I would not go to a game because I'm Canucks first, okay? In all serious though, get a win, dude. Get a win from Mike. Pedersen explodes. You know, Mike's been really hard on Pedersen in the Discord. Okay, join the Discord. The link in the bio. Maybe Pedersen shuts him up. Okay, and shuts all of us up. Look at what Trevor just said. Show me something, Pedersen. How about you show him something? You know what I'm saying?
What would you want me to show him? Some love? Do something.
Accountability.
Some love.
Accountability. Look at this, man. Stephen Meyer, 420 every day. Yeah, I was hoping that the Vancouver Canucks were going to start their playoff journey on 420 this Saturday right away. That's how excited I am. Not just for the Vancouver nostalgia, right? Not just for that, because there's something there. But again, I'm just excited. Is there a part of you that's disappointed that you kind of have to wait, most likely, for this to happen? Like, you have to wait till Tuesday. I'm assuming they're going to play the last round one game out of all the teams outside of Nashville or whoever they play.
I'm not necessarily disappointed. I think it's good for them to have the rest. I'm definitely amped up to see it going. But you know, Kyle, you said it. You know, I'm aging rapidly with the 2 young kids, and I definitely want the best, the playoff schedule that best suits my life because I'm selfish. And I think I got a ball hockey game Tuesday, so that one might be tough. We'll figure that one out, man. Figure that one out in a couple days.
You got to watch it on the game, man. You got to watch it on your game, dude. Holy crap. That sucks, man. That sucks. Game 3 of the regular season or of your ball hockey season or game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs involving your Vancouver Canucks. What are you going to do? How loyal are you going to be? Speaking of loyalty, last comment again goes to Mike. Look at this guy, man. This guy's 0 for 22 in his last 22 games going to Canucks games. And with the division on the line,
man,
this guy's like, you know what? I'm going to go and be the curse again. That's crazy, man. That's something else, man. I don't know if I would do what Mike is doing because, again, I'm Canucks first, man. We are all locked on Canucks. I mean, we are all Canucks. Speaking of which, Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, been Canucks since like 02, 01. Go check out Brendan Morrison's YouTube channel, man. That guy's doing it, man. That guy's doing it. I want him and Todd Bertuzzi and Marcus Naslin to have a podcast, man. And maybe those 3 went through the same things we did in life, okay? I mean, not like the details we talked about throughout the show, but, you know, just that friendship, the adversity, the balding, the kids, right? It'd be cool to listen to my favorite line ever, realistically, do all those things. But, yeah. Locked on Canucks. Join the Discord. Link in bio. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Go Canucks. Go. Enjoy the game. Let's win the division. And Beggsy, say whatever you want.
There we go. Let's win the division. And again, shout out to everyone listening to Locked On Canucks. We're nothing without you listening. Whether you're an everydayer, an occasional listener, a first-time listener, a new subscriber, or you join us on the live YouTube show. We love each and every one of you, your families, dogs, pets, and cats too, okay? Coming up this week, we're getting close to playoffs, man. So close. We will recap anything big that happens from the Canucks Flames game. Some of the other things on my mind heading into the playoffs is obviously we will do an episode about how the Canucks stack up against their opponent, which is looking more and more like it might be those Nashville Predators. I also want to do an episode or a segment on why every Western Conference team is going to choke except for the Vancouver Canucks. And then Kyle, I also want to do a segment potentially on what was going on in the world the last time the Canucks had a home playoff game. Because a lot has changed since 2015. So anyways, all that and more. But remember, it's Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. We got you covered. But for now, we got to get out of here. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bound. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Is this true, Trevor? Like, did Pittsburgh blend all their lines with Rick Tocchet back in 2015 prior to winning a cup? Like, is that a thing? We got to do our research for tomorrow's episode, man. Are we being fooled right now? Anyways, Locked On Canucks, man.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.